Yeah,
Do we have a quorum?
He's not going to say. but-
Yes, you have 4 of 7 present.
Okay, very good. And I will call this meeting of the Ad hoc County Facilities Planning Committee to order. Ask the clerk to take the roll.
Carol. Here. Kramer.
Here.
Harry. Here. Turk.
Here.
Frank. Williamson. Or Cooey. 4 of 7.
And are we in compliance with the open meetings law?
That's Mr. Chair, that we have we must.
We have a 12-point agenda. Do I have a motion to approve it? Motion by Kramer, second by Carol. All those in favor say aye. And item 5 is approval of minutes from the February 19th meeting. Those are in the packet. Anybody have questions, clarifications, changes that need to be made there?
Supervisor Cooley was both present and absent.
Oh, was he? Okay, let's fix that.
He may have been confused that day. I don't know.
Oh, I see that.
He was here in spirit.
I think we weren't sure if he was online that night.
Yeah, I had marked him as no, but then
Then he
maybe
joined.
did he join at
Yes.
some point?
Yep.
Yeah. I will make a note that he joined
Okay.
virtually.
Good. Any other clarifications needed? And then with that one correction, the chair will declare those minutes to be approved as presented. Item 6, public comment. Members of the public that wish to comment to the committee this afternoon, evening here. Anybody online? Nope. Okay. Then we'll move on to item 7, discussion of current and future space needs, structural soundness and safety for the community services building departments.
I've got a few items here from Randy.
Okay.
For space needs, we need a work area instead of an office. Right now I have an office in a furnace room, basically, not enough room in there to do any work. So we need an office big enough that we could have some tools, small cleaning equipment, file cabinets, at least a workbench, tool cabinets, workspace, big enough workspace. As far as safety needs, at this time, I don't recall of anything. Randy and I both looked at it, didn't find anything. There's a few structural issues. We've got a few stress cracks on the sheetrock on the interior of the building. Some go down into the tile, some of the tile is cracked. For priority of ranking, he's got space needs as number 1. Safety needs 2 and structural needs, that's 3. As far as the maintenance needs, I've got 18 furnaces, which also have air conditioning units combined with them. 1 was brand new last year for systems. I've got 17 other ones that, as far as my sheet go, I have 7 units that are 29 years old, 3 units that are 25 years old. I've got 6 units that are 17 years old and 1 unit that's 6. So the newest one is the one that's put in last year. Like I said, we have just a small selection of tools over there. I just have the basic hand tools. I don't have any, I've got a drill and that's about it. So we need a larger selection of tools to accommodate the growing needs of this community service building. Outside and inside storage would be great. Currently, we have 0. There's no place to put salt, leaf blower, gas blower. We can't have inside the building, so that's why we've asked for an outside one. Push mower. Right now, we do need like I said, an actual maintenance room, not a desk and a closet, which that's mine. We also have a generator that either needs to be replaced or updated. There's some flooring updates that needs to be done. Like I said, there's some cracked tiles. As a few in here know, a lot of our carpet, I think some of the newest was just put in yesterday, but prior to that, it was in 2018, there was a section. 97 was the other big portion, and then of course when the new addition was put on, it was 2008. So the carpet is pretty badly worn, a lot of spaces that you actually see the traffic areas where people walk. There's no cleaning now. Outside lighting, basically it's all outdated. It's probably, the majority of it was put on in 97. There's 5 that were put on in 2008 with that addition. You can't get parts for them, so they would have to be updated to whatever the new LED systems are or whatever. Sidewalks, there's a couple sidewalks that should be repaired. We had a few people fall last year, and I have put signs up stating caution in those areas, but they do need to be corrected. AC units, like I said, need to be replaced. Inside lighting updates to LED. Give you an example, I know we have 377 4-foot fluorescent fixtures in the building. Of that amount, there have been probably with the new 12 that was just done, maybe 30 total that have been replaced. So everything else is fluorescents. And then there's 24 2-foot fluorescent bulbs. They should be updated to from fluorescence to LED. So then as far as the needs of priority of ranking, obviously the 17 furnaces is our biggest. Last year we had all of them gone through and the burners were cleaned and the units, the air conditioners were cleaned just to try to get another year out of them. I've got 1 unit that doesn't work at all. Tools would be number 2, the storage shed inside and out for the maintenance work area. Number 3 on this list is generator update or replacement. 4 would be the inside lightings to LED. And 5 would be the updates to the flooring, carpets, sidewalk repairs. That's all.
Questions from the committee? Mr. Carroll.
Randy's told us a fair bit about the generator here. Could you tell us a little more about the generator, its age, what make it is, that kind of stuff?
I would refer to these 2 gentlemen here, as they have worked on it extensively.
And I believe it was put in with when the building expansion happened, so it'd be 18 years old. We had a panel, electronic panel that just failed on it. And that's gonna get replaced on Tuesday. With talking to that gentleman, and he said most of the generator lives are about 30 years. So I guess I'm not sure if where the replacement part of that.
I don't know. I think that was a carryover from the one.
From the other one in this building. Yeah, so
It's probably.
that gentleman's gonna go through it, but I would say that it's probably just beyond half-life potentially, but we can get more information from the gentleman when he comes to replace that panel.
It'd be nice to get an assessment.
Wouldn't be unexpected for it to need some work, but
Correct, and the electronics, I feel like we're gonna have potentially ongoing things with those components, but the actual motor, transfer switch, all those type of things, we could have them look at, just give us an update.
does it still provide enough capacity for the building?
Yes.
Okay. Other questions? Go ahead, Steve.
What was the problem with the outside lighting that needs replaced?
The majority of them were put on in 97. You can't get parts for them, so they go through bulbs like you're just throwing them at the wall, basically. They don't last very long. Trish attests. I'm replacing them every 2 or 3 months.
So we're talking about replacing the fixture itself. not
Replacement of the
thing.
fixture themselves, yes.
Bring it up to an LED standard that's gonna
Right.
be more efficient and last longer.
I don't know if you could even buy the old style any longer. We have a hard time getting the bulbs.
Other questions? Corey from Venture is with us online. Corey, did you have any comments on any of the building condition issues or the 17 furnaces?
No, I think they stated it all.
Just in general, Corey, because I'm curious, would it be a situation where we might be long-term money ahead to look at redoing the whole HVAC system for that building or replacing individual units as they are? Just
I
curious.
I would, if it's going to be a long-term solution, you're probably better off getting a proper HVAC system allocated for that building instead of utilizing 17 different furnaces.
Yeah, right now, those are residential units. so-
Yeah. Yeah. That's obviously not efficient for that building.
I think those who have offices in the building would testify to the variance in temperatures.
It's hard to maintain.
Room you're wearing hat and gloves, and the other room you're running your little
Yep.
heaters.
Anybody else have questions on services building, physical building needs? Do we have unallocated space left in the building, or are we pushing out the walls now?
I don't believe there's any space left inside.
I don't think there's unallocated. I think the little we did have left, UW Extension is now taking. And I think we're still even busting at the seams even. I guess I can segue right into me then.
Yep, go ahead.
So I did I don't know how much everybody knows about Health and Human Services specifically, but we do have 5 program units, a support unit. Currently, I did the math and we're probably using about 10,000, 11,000 square feet right now. We have over 60 employees, at least 60 individuals, a lot of contracted staff and stuff. So they're not necessarily in the building, but they use the building quite a bit. So of course, the current space use, I think the biggest things we're looking at, because now we're running out of storage, right? Some storage that we did have now is being utilized by other departments. And the storage that we do have is actually like, it could be various vacant offices, like if we have a vacant position, we're like, okay, we'll use that for storage right now. But if we fill that vacancy, then where does everything go? So we're kind of moving things around, and we do cleanups every year and try and get rid of things. So it's not like we're hoarders by any means, I don't think. So there's that. Again, no opportunity for growth. Like I said, I think we're at capacity. We're pretty much, there's nothing left to give up. And if we ever want to add a program or anything like that, that might involve adding additional staff. That's not going to work for us. We can't add programs. Another thing that we have is we do have some cubicle space, which is a space saver to have cubicles. And right now, some of the economic support staff work remote. However, if something were to happen or that were to change at all, and those staff have to come in and work in the building, that we don't have enough room for all of them. We could try and maybe do some rearranging to make that happen, but I think it's getting more complicated to do that. And then just some spaces that aren't necessarily being used in the most efficient way, some walls in places maybe they weren't there. We could maybe move around a little bit better in some of our workspaces. We do have one program unit that is actually split into 2 sections of the building. They're not even together. So that's not really a space need, but it could be challenging to try and figure out a way to get everybody all together that needs to be together. So that they're in their same team. So I guess for space needs overall, I think we just can't afford to lose any more space. And we really don't have any room to grow if we ever would like to do that. Safety needs, I think one of the things that's been on our radar for quite a while is our Aging and Disability Resource Center reception area is very unsafe. A few years ago, we did build in our main front desk is enclosed now, but the ADRC reception area just never was given that same attention. So there's really some structural needs there, or some safety needs there, which obviously have to be some structural changes to make that happen. In individual offices, there's some desk sets that we need to have some rearranging done and things like that. So if something changes, we'd have to have somebody look at how do we set those offices up. I think a lot of our desks do our hardwired, or I don't want to say hardwired, but are screwed into the walls too. So it's really complicated to set
And they're
them
not
up.
set up design wise to readily turn.
Yeah, they're not. So, so that's something from a safety perspective. We've had conversations, my next point on here is, we've had conversations with MIS as well over the years. We have a public area and then we have our work area behind locked doors, and it's, there are very few mechanisms in the building to alert staff that are behind the walls if there's something going on in front that's, going on. We're doing it and we're making it work, but I think it could be better. So from safety, I think the biggest thing is safety from the front desk in case there's ever an escalated issue. I think our front area, especially the ADRC, could use some attention. Like I said, I mentioned that in the structural needs portion, maybe build up some walls and close that a little bit better. So there's just a better way of knowing if something escalating is coming at you or whatever. I think I threw in there like some soundproofing. I think some walls are soundproof, some aren't. So I think we could do some soundproofing would be helpful. And then Economic Sport actually came up with a great idea of rearranging one of the offices right now. They have an intake office, but to take people to it, you have to go inside. And they were thinking if they flipped that around to where there's more of a door on that you can walk in through the public area that you don't have to actually badge into. And then the thought is too, then that might actually free up some space in an office space in another part of the building. Because then they would have that more accessible. So just some little things like that. I know we weren't supposed to go too in the weeds on what our thoughts and ideas were, but I think at the end of the day, we need what we have. We can't give up anymore. And from a safety perspective, we need to have that main front desk area, especially the ADRC area, really looked at to have it fixed. So that would be our priority, is to have that safety piece looked at.
Questions from the committee? Go ahead, Steve.
Remote workers, you mentioned, is it 6 with the financial support?
Correct. Yes, we have 6 right now.
Was that considered a positive thing, or is it a workaround? Or I'm just trying to understand whether you would prefer them to be in, or if there's potential for more people to work remote, just in general.
In general, we kind of leave it up to the staff person if they want to work remote or not. It actually has been a positive thing in that unit. The ones that are working remote really enjoy working remote. And for the most part, it's.
I think the ones that aren't, don't have internet capability at home to work remote.
Some of them, there's applications that way that they can't, or, will they have to come back at any point? I mean, right now, I don't predict that happening. I predict they'll get to continue to work from home as long as a county, we allow that. So.
But in terms of effectiveness, it's the same, or you feel like it's fine either way?
It's fine either way, effectively, yeah, as far as like, productivity and things like that, yeah. I think it's either way, it's fine, yeah.
Our economic support workers, the system tracks pretty much every single movement they make. Everything.
Yeah, you never have to worry that they're working or not working. You know, so, yeah. No, but I think, working in the building or out of the building, I don't think there's any difference.
Mr. Perry, go ahead.
Concerning the entrance there,
Mm-hmm.
and is that mostly cosmetic? It's not a safety area that your receptionist sits behind. I mean, it's not, there's no security there except for the cosmetic part.
it'll slow somebody down. It'll slow somebody down if they're coming in, and it'll give us a quick second to get the,
And I know the ADRC area is wide open,
it's more wide open.
but
Correct.
that front area really needs to be more secure.
It needs to be.
Those are the people come off the street, and if they're angry, that could be a.
Right. So the individuals that are in that, we call it the bubble, the individuals that are in the bubble there, they're, like I said, it's more secure for them, right? There's some stuff that's built up, the glass goes all the way to the top, it's a little more secure that you kind of, and they have the window, right, things like that. But the ADRC side, when you come in, it's just open,
Right.
so, really like that looked at and what we can do to make that a little bit safer on that side, on that there.
You don't have any angry customers, do you?
Never. Never. I have 0 complaints ever come to my home. We don't have a lot. Where do you think everybody's?
Any other questions? Corey, did you have any thoughts on the security stuff?
No, I think they just mentioned it as far as if they needed some security at that one reception counter to add some stuff that shouldn't be a lot that's required. It's more, again, more of a deterrent. You can do a little bit more if a concern is for if you need some more of a bullet resistance. There are panels that you can install in the reception counters for that. So it's, but other than that, no, I think it was mentioned.
Anything else with that building? Right. We will move on from the services building to discussion of current and future space needs, structural soundness and safety for the Simons Recreation Complex. It shouldn't take a minute because everything's fine.
Oh, everything's perfect.
Yep.
Yep, we can go. So Kyle Ewing's here, our Assistant Director. He's kind of the brains behind the operation and a much better speaker than me, so he'll be able to, yeah, he does a lot of or does pretty much all the maintenance and everything, so he can answer a lot of that stuff as well. But I guess as far as space needs, family changing rooms has been kind of our priority. We talked to the foundation about this. We plan on this being a donation campaign, so we're looking at it from that respect. But Simons doesn't have any family changing rooms. We've got men's room, we've got women's room. That was built in 1987 when those things weren't necessarily as big of a deal as they are now. 2005, Simons had plans engineered, architectural plans done for an addition, which included family changing rooms and addition some other things. Multi-million-dollar plan never happened, obviously, and family rooms didn't happen along with that. 2019, they came up with their connection plans with the gymnasium. Those again had additional family rooms because that's been a big request from people. Obviously, COVID happened, the campus closed, that addition didn't happen, and the family rooms didn't happen. So now it's been over 20 years where we've been without family changing rooms. The big problem with that is not only do we have parents who are electing not to come, and when they do come, they're complaining because they've got older opposite gender kids that might be autistic, might need help getting changed. They can't go, they don't know where, they don't want to take their older male child in a female locker room. They can't go in the male locker room, obviously, so that causes an issue. One of the bigger issues that we've had also is we've had some 70, 80-year-old opposite gender couples that for example, the wife is in a wheelchair, the husband is their caretaker, they're 60 or 70 years old, and where do they go? Which locker room do they go into? So we've addressed that by basically we clear out the women's locker room, we get everyone out, we let them go in there, change, and then once they're done, we let everyone back in again. Obviously, that's very labor intensive and that's very disruptive. And it's a little embarrassing when you're a tax subsidized facility and you don't provide family changing rooms for that. So that's something that really is a priority for us that we're working with the foundation on. Additionally, the renovated locker rooms, the current locker rooms we have, there hasn't been a whole lot done with them since they were initially built in 1987. They had downsized when the building was initially built because of the donation didn't come in as much as what the costs were at. So they are a little bit crowded. We don't have a whole lot of space inside just because of the way they're located. So they're kind of stuck in there the way they are. But we are looking and talking with the foundation on that. And Kyle's been working too with some, getting some quotes on kind of updating those because they're not dirty, but they're old, so they kind of look dirty. And that's our number one complaint that we get from people is that the locker rooms are in very poor condition. Everything else is great out there, according to the surveys we get, or the responses we get. Larger reconfigured weight room. Again, that's another thing that Kyle's been working a lot on with the foundation. We do have some donors that have offered some money, and we do have quite a few members that are looking for some upgrades there because we've got a lot of older equipment that way. Part of this is the ability to relocate the weight room, and we've talked some with the Simon's board about this. We've been talking about this for the last few years. Racquetball courts have been in a lot less demand than they were back in 1987. We've got 2 racquetball courts that sit empty most of the time, and we've got a need for a space inside without. Our goal was to pursue the family changing rooms and not do a multi-million-dollar addition plan again and not have the money to do it, and the family rooms get lost again for another 20 years. So our goal is to go after those family changing rooms, and the best way to do that is to repurpose the racquetball courts, which don't have as much use right now. And there's a much bigger demand for addressing the locker room issues. So that gives us an opportunity to kind of reconfigure on the inside. And obviously, again, that's something that we're working with the foundation, with our donors on getting that. Lack of storage space, obviously you never build with enough storage space, but that is a major thing that we've got. Kyle's been able to work with Steve Board and the school district and using the gymnasium locker room for some extra storage. We've talked with Steve and assuming that the school district does eventually take over the gym, he is willing to allow us to continue to use the locker room for some storage space for a longer period of time until we get to a point where we can possibly put on some additional storage space down the road. Safety needs, so parking lot striping and sealing. That's something that's been due for the last couple of years, but again, with everything going on around the campus, we didn't want to invest the money in that parking lot until we know we've got a plan down there, because obviously things could change with roads, streets, parking lots, that type of thing. But right now, we have had some people that have complained about people aren't parking in the right spots because they can't see the lines, and so worst case scenario, if it is going to be a little bit, quite a bit longer for a master plan, then we can at least put down stripe the parking lot. So we don't want to really invest the money if we don't have to, but that is something that we're going to need to address here soon. Our offices, Kyle and I share an office that's 8 by 11. It works out well because of us, but I don't think anyone else would put up with me like he does. So. Yeah, it is. There's no confidentiality. So if we want to have a meeting or whatever, there's really no place there to meet with an employee about an issue or anything like that, or phone calls. Everything's kind of out in the open, which again, we get along, so it works. But eventually, that's something hopefully that we can address if we look at doing something different with the racquetball courts, maybe doing something a little bit different with space. The only other thing was additional security cameras. Again, that's something that we're hoping to address if we do go through with family rooms, getting family rooms in there, and family rooms basically would probably displace the current lobby and reception area, and that would give us an opportunity to provide a better reception area where receptionists would be able to see more of the facility through the camera, so they'd be able to visibly see what's going on around in the pool area, for example. Structural needs, HVAC replacement is, of course, our number one thing. If nothing else gets done, and again, we've got a plan that we've been working on with that, and that sounds like that's moving forward. But HVAC, right now, it was first requested, I think Denise did back in 2020, she said, and that's where she came up with, she got a bid to do that. We have 4 air handler units there. 3 of them are original 1987. One of them was included or put on when we put on the addition in 1998 that serves the weight room and the fitness room. At 2020, Denise was given a price of $50,000 to replace all 4 of those. Those prices, of course, have went up from that $200,000 estimate. Things have changed a little bit and we're considerably more than that now, obviously, but this has, so now this has been going on and every year we've been asking a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And now we're getting into issues where, and Venture kind of noted too, that we're seeing some moisture issues. We've seen it worse this year than it's ever been. So there's many times in the pool area, especially where the windows have condensation all over them. And so the windows have suffered because of that. So now our windows are getting in pretty poor shape. Door hardware and all of that. It's just a caustic environment in the pool area. And then the north and the east walls, exterior pool walls, which was his interior and Venture put in their report as well, with some efflorescence on the outside of the wall, and we're having that looked into as well, but that's likely due to extra moisture that's in the pool area. Talking a little bit more about it with Denise. So about 20 years ago or so, the exterior walls in Simons were incorrectly built. The space between them, there was supposed to be, I believe, a foot between the outer wall and the inner wall, and they had like 10 inches or something like that. So they had an issue back then. There were all lawsuits and everything, for anyone who remembers that. Lawsuits with the construction team. And anyway, so we ended up having to, at that time, Larry Fowler was the mayor, and he had engineered a kind of a fix. And so they built interior walls inside the pool. And they were waterproof walls that were supposed to keep moisture out. And it also addressed kind of the issue that was in there from the construction. So now we're starting to see issues on those walls, and as Kyle had pointed out, on the interior of those walls, just in the past few months, we're starting to see some issues that's likely caused because of moisture getting behind or between those walls. We think it's getting between those walls, and that's where we're talking to engineers about coming in and designing an HVAC system that's going to hopefully address that wall as well. But due to the lack of air movement, what we think might be happening, and again, we need an engineer to kind of look this over for us, so the building has different zones, obviously, different air zones, and because our HVAC system no longer works or hasn't worked for a while the way it's supposed to, there is a zone that's above the pool. It's actually a zone that there's supposed to be air moving there. That zone hasn't been working for a while now, so that it's supposed to be dry up there. It hasn't been. It's pretty wet up there. That affects the ceiling grids. Obviously, there's ceiling grids there, and so there's a concern that those could rust out eventually and fall. But we believe that might be where that moisture is getting in between those walls. That's the only thing we can think of, because this problem's been in the last couple of years. It's really taken off. So at the same time that our HVAC is really gone. So that HVAC is by far the number one most important thing that we've got to get addressed. Interior doors, walls, and windows and ceilings. Again, a lot of that's due to HVAC, but we don't want to do anything until we get the HVAC replaced. We do have a bid on replacing the interior doors, so we kind of have a rough idea of what it will cost eventually once we do get to that point. We got several windows, and Venture Report had also pointed out several of those windows that are nearing the end of their life, and some seal issues and casement issues. And the majority of the ceilings there and ceiling grids are getting in pretty poor shape with rust, just with the caustic environment and everything. And then some other things, entrance relocation, we discussed that some at the Simons board. Just when the building was built, it was put right behind the gymnasium, with the door right behind the gymnasium. So it was built to be part of the UW campus, but it's hard to see if you're not a campus student there. You know, where do you go in? A lot of people come in and they don't know where Simons is at, or how to get in the door, that type of thing, because we're kind of stuck there in the back. So hopefully that gives us an opportunity to do some visibility improvements with as part of the campus master plan. And then lighting conversion, and again, Venture Report found a little bit about this too, where we have an opportunity to, when we do replace some of the lights, to go more of the LED area and look at some savings there. So, and I think Kyle's going to talk a little bit about maintenance.
So HVAC.
Sorry, the maintenance form didn't get added to the packet, but it has now. So if you guys refresh, if you're following along, it is in the packet now. So I apologize for that.
This didn't help us to get our investment package. Is it up there?
Well, I've been working on it right now.
Oh, okay, so I was gonna say I can stop sharing and go back in there.
You can.
Good, okay. So HVAC, obviously, Mike kind of already explained everything, that the HVAC is just causing issues in the other part of the building. Equipment is rusting in the weight room side because obviously the HVAC just does not work correctly. The biggest issue with the HVAC, even in the short term, is it's so old that all the technicians now are too young to know how the old system even works. So you have to find somebody who's close to retirement age or even beyond to come in and even understand our system. One of the other issues that I think is probably causing most of the issues in the pool area is we have thermostats in the pool area, but of course they don't work. Well, pools are tricky. You have to keep the air at a certain temp compared to the pool water in order for everything to work correctly. And we're not even able to control the pool, the air in the pool, control the temp in there at all. So I'm assuming that is also, the issue with the zone. Yeah, not much else, I think, on HVAC. I mean, Mike covered the majority of it. Our plumbing, so this is really, this is number 2 on our list. It's really not terrible, in all honesty. The biggest issues with our plumbing is in those older locker rooms that really just, when we redo the locker rooms, it probably will fix the majority of our issues. Other stuff with the pool and the plumbing with the pool is all actually, as it says here, it's all in pretty good shape. But just some minor things, like we need with commercial toilets, the urinals that we have to call and get them routed or, frequently. One of the things we've looked at is putting in more drains in the locker room because there's not even enough drains in the locker room, but that's all hopefully things that we can kind of cover with the remodel. Electrical is in fair to good condition. It's not perfect, but for the most part, it'll get us by, I think. One thing I know Mike mentioned too, but with the, we have a lot of the 2x2 screens or ceiling tiles in the wall. Those are all pretty much, they're rusted, or in the pool area, they've taken a beating because it's really hard to get a ladder that tall even. It's really hard to change those out. So that's something that we, kind of at the same time when we do electrical, it's nice we do that. And or, I've talked to Randy a couple of times about maybe just, if we know those buildings are coming down, we could get the ceiling tiles out of some of the campus buildings at some point. That would definitely be a cost savings. Fire protection and security. Yeah, we do have somebody who comes in and checks everything once a year, and it's in fair to good condition. Our security system is always kind of interesting. It's not great, but I mean, I don't know what other buildings have for security. We still get calls. We're not quite sure how the whole thing works. We also haven't paid them in a year, and they're still calling us when there's issues. So I don't know if they think the bill's on the way or whatnot, but it's not even, it's not worth having because it's so poor and we don't really even know how to operate it, to be fair. So again, biggest issue is HVAC, and then plumbing's number 2. Electrical and fire, I think, are good enough to at least get us by for a while.
Questions from the committee? Go ahead, Steve.
The venture report from last year had, again, it was more on a general level, but they had taken a ton of pictures and looked things over carefully, and they threw out a little over 200,000 to take care of deferred maintenance. But I mean, hearing stuff you're saying is more to do with the arrangement than how it's actually designed, like family shower and other things like that. So I'm just wondering if Venture could comment on what you've heard now, how that would affect your thoughts on refurbishing costs.
Well, a couple of things here. Obviously, with the HVAC system, I know we'll be having discussions here of not necessarily replacing equipment, but improving it. Obviously, as mentioned, as well as with the humidity and airflow in those areas. One of the concepts that we looked at, if depending upon the campus master plan, was having kind of a connection between Simons and the gymnasium, depending upon what all happened with that. And that would add account for, family changing rooms that kind of a main entrance to both facilities. So again, depending upon where the master plan goes for the campus, those definitely are things that to be looked at that time. And I do agree. I know you have some issues, but hesitate until the master plan gets worked out, and then kind of look at where to go with these facilities, like the family locker rooms, etc.
Other questions?
I have to admit to the gentleman that I didn't know what efflorescence was. So you educated me, I had to Google it.
Well, Venture educated us, so.
Yeah.
So you're getting moisture down there. So if you look at the building, you'll see this chalky substance coming down the walls. And that's starting to get with the moisture in the wall. Some of that lime is coming through that you have in your grout. And so that can start to deteriorate your building.
Other questions? How is the solar system functioning out there?
Right now, good. I think we're about 18%, says us about 18% of our electrical right now. It's, was located a little too close to the building, and I know it had to be at that time because of the campus agreement or whatever, but that is one thing that we talked a little bit about too, is depending on, in the future campus plans, is it would be nice to push it a little bit farther away from the Simons building up the hill a little bit, just because this time of year, by 3 o'clock, it's pretty much in the shadow, so we're not capitalizing on light after 3 o'clock. So we're losing a lot of that efficiency, I guess. So that's an opportunity too down the road. But otherwise, it's, yeah, we foundation paid to repair it a couple of years, well, 2024, I guess. So now it's been operating quite well.
Go ahead, Steve.
Could you again say what things the foundation is considering doing or what's in the pipeline?
Right now, so the last meeting we had, they asked for what our number one priority was, and we said family rooms. So that absolutely family rooms is going to be the highest price ticket, but as they're looking at kind of upping their game a little bit too, that's and part of that with a family room that would require a little bit of renovations on the inside. But basically, we want to look at what's there at the building now and taking care of what we have right now rather than adding on, and doing so without having to add on additional costs, because we know we're not going to have the budget to support anything new or anything like that. So family rooms is number one, and that also addresses the, we've got extra space in the racquetball courts that isn't being used that much, and we don't have much space for, we have a lack of space otherwise, so that kind of reuses that. And even if we weren't reusing the racquetball courts, they're in very poor condition right now. They haven't been, they're just in poor shape, but so yeah, that's kind of the number one thing they're looking at, in addition to continuing to replace exercise equipment and that type of thing. They're more interested in, we mentioned to them about, we might need a little help with the HVAC, things like that. And their preferences for their donors, obviously, they like to do the pretty things, the things they're seeing, HVAC that's, up there in the ceiling, and no one sees that. Who wants to? It's kind of like asking someone to donate for a pothole. You want to fix this pothole, give us $10,000, fix the pothole in front of your house. No one wants to do it. So
A good compromise was, just recently, they approved $15,000 in weight equipment. They realized we need to do the bathrooms, but it's not something we can do right now. It's just, there's too many pieces of that puzzle. And so they want people to see what they do every day. So with this new, at least with our current footprint, the weight room should get a pretty nice facelift here in the next couple of weeks. So.
No, part of the reason I asked is, if we're gonna try to come up with a 20-year plan, and part of that is Simons, then obviously we need to coordinate this with the foundations.
And there's lots of moving parts with Simons too, because there's a study going on and we don't know what the future of that looks like too, so.
When
Yes,
do we know when that's due?
March 3rd, the report is being presented at City Council. and then we'll talk about it on March 10th.
Yes. Hopefully things will start happening a little bit quicker now, so we'll get a few more of those answers. And then, of course, with the campus master plan, that'll help too. And, you know, a year from now, hopefully we'll have pretty good directions.
Any other questions for Simons? Thank you.
Thank you.
Continuing on, item number 9. Discussion of current and future space needs, structural soundness and safety for the MIS department.
We have split this out between our office space / storage space and then our multiple IT closets within different buildings to kind of make it easier to go over. Recently, we've given up a double office at the HHS building so that the county could accommodate moving the W Extension Department into the Community Services building. We added a new employee this month. Actually just this week, hired him on, so he's our new radio tech, Jeremy. That addition of that position makes it so we are more out of space again. And you may ask, why did we give up that space if we may need it? And that space didn't really work with our workflow anyways. Our workflow, we need to be all close together. We can communicate together. And there was no direct way. Jason actually used to be located in that double office and he moved, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years ago over to be closer to us because it just didn't work. We're all constantly communicating and talking about issues. And if we can collaborate quickly, we can usually solve stuff quicker, keep everybody on track. Also made issues with being able to communicate and leaving him out of some of the conversations because he wasn't right there. When he probably should have been involved in them. So we prefer if we could keep everybody closer together. We don't want to split part of our department up. But with the addition of the new position, we've had to move our part-time position, who is Marilyn Peckham, over the back of our cubicle wall and put her in our storage area. So I don't think she minds too bad, but it's not super convenient. It also takes up a significant portion of our storage area. Since we made the move out of that double office, we added a bunch of shelving from the campus, which helped us better organize our storage area. We're still working on getting that better organized to know what we have, but it's still a fairly limited space compared to what we had before because we had all of that plus that double office. Depending on what we're going to keep on hand, it may or may not be sufficient. If stuff starts to get to where it's hard to get, like it was in COVID, it's nice to have some more stuff on hand so that you're not waiting for months for it if you have issues. But currently we're doing okay. We do have a small recycling area in that storage area that we use, that we just kind of pile stuff that's electronics. There's a company that comes twice a year to pick that stuff up. It's normally around 2 to 3 pallets of stuff twice a year that we ship out.
Just toss in with that, if HHS is looking for outdoor storage for some of their equipment, we would love to have some of that space for that storage.
Yeah, because we
For
can
that recycling.
all that recycling stuff doesn't need to be stored inside. We just have nowhere else to put it. So, yeah, it'd be ideal if we had a place where we could roll pallets. We could fill a pallet outside and then you could roll that, whether it be with a skid steer, put it in a truck and take it to a storage area. It wouldn't have to necessarily be here on site. But something like had a door that you can move pallets in and out, so you're not stacking the stuff up and moving it multiple times. That takes a lot of man hours. Our staff cubicle space and storage area is in a semi-secure location. We're behind locked doors. However, there's lots of traffic going through there due to HHS staff moving through. It's generally not a problem, just something to be aware of. The public access doors do open quite often with staff walking through. They use that door to get to the one bathroom we have next to us and then to travel back and forth from ADRC and the public health department, and of course to go across the street because it's a lot quicker to come out this side of the building. Again, hasn't really been a huge issue, but what has been an issue is our HVAC, which you've already heard. HVAC in the community services building isn't great. I don't know what year was done, but before I started in 2016, there was a wall put up that's right behind my cubicle desk. And the HVAC is actually split right there. So we have the unit on our side and the thermostat's on the other side of the wall, and that's completely closed off. So we might, depending on like during the summer when it's cooling, it'll be really cool in our area and we have to open doors up.
to allow air to transfer back and forth, or else it's really cool on our side and they're where they want to be. So that's in the ESS cubicle area, and they've been really good to work with us in trying to keep that leveled out for both of us. The big temperature swings are when the big problems happen. If the temperature is fairly stable, it's not as bad. The other issue we have with that part is that part of our lighting is on their lighting. So right behind my desk, there's a couple of lights that are connected to the light switch that's back in ESS. So we have to either walk back there and flip the switch on, or we leave them off. It's nice to have them on, especially now that Maryland's back there trying to work. When it was just a storage area, it wasn't as big of a deal. We have to go flip them on if we go look for something, because we couldn't see very well. But now with Maryland being back there, sheets light all the time. ESS didn't necessarily like all the lights on all the time, so it'd be preferred if we do something with the lights in there, that we could split them off and put them back on the circuit that's controlled by our side. I don't think it'd be very hard to do. There's only a few fixtures. A couple of those fixtures have ballasts that are failing in them, so we only have 1 or 2 bulbs out of 3 working in multiple fixtures in that area. Which is, again, we would also be on board with maintenance, trying to get LED lights on more of that building. Any questions on that area before we move into IT closets?
Go ahead, Steve.
Back on the IT closet for the community service. What fire suppression? What's that?
We haven't got to that yet.
What's that?
We haven't got to that yet.
I mean, is it? I'm not sure it's required, is it?
We're not to that yet. I'll explain that when we get to it. We're still on our office space and storage space. That's the next item.
Okay.
Good. Any other office space questions, Paul? Okay.
All right, the CSB IT closet currently meets our needs. Does have a small amount of room for growth. Space fluctuates when we do server upgrades or any other upgrades like that. Sometimes that can take up to half a rack to put the new equipment in. So you're running both sets, you're having a new set and the old set. So that makes stuff pretty full, but for the time being anyways, we're okay in there. HVAC system is new. We put a mini split in last year because we were the one that was in there. The system that was in there failed. Fire suppression, as Steve just pointed out, is a project that we're looking at. To answer Steve's questions, is it required? Depends on what your requirements would be. Currently, there are 2 sprinklers right over top of all our servers.
Ooh.
If there's a water leak, if the fire suppression system goes off currently, it's going to ruin all of our equipment. So,
I believe that there is some requirements underneath the CGIS requirements that would say that we would have to have some sort of fire suppression system in there. And I tried to push at the time when the sprinkler heads were being put in to try to do something different, and the way it was engineered for the space, that was where they just basically went through and now we have to try to figure out how to correct that.
What fire are we trying to suppress?
Any fire in the building at all, but basically in that room.
So Crawford County about 6 months ago had a water leak there over their server system, and they were like, their system was down for weeks to a month plus for some of their programs.
Right.
So what we're trying to do is protect our main heart of everything that's happening, so that we can ensure that if there's a fire in the building, the sprinklers don't go off in there, and then there's this foam that kind of rains down on everything and protects all our equipment in there.
Are we talking halon? What are we talking?
It's different than halon. It's a new chemical because halon is banned now. It's or something like that. It's a new chemical, but we basically have to have the room.
it has to be
sealed for 10 minutes. So it has to hold that air in there for a full 10 minutes. So we've got a price on the fire suppression, but now we have to get a contractor to come in and basically seal that room to maintain that air for 10 minutes.
So that's something you're moving forward with regardless of what we're doing here.
Correct.
Okay.
Other questions?
Courthouse IT closets, as you're familiar, this building, was built in multiple steps and it's pretty old. We have multiple IT closets in this building. We have 3 in the basement and 1 upstairs, and then up in the penthouse, we also have equipment. So the first closet's old pantry area. This room's using wall space plus 2 racks. It's reached capacity. The biggest problem with it reaching capacity is when we go to refresh our 911 equipment system, which will be in the next couple of years again. We're not gonna have anywhere to put all that new stuff while the old stuff is decommissioned. So, we can't just simply move it across the hall and put it in a different room because all the cabling for that is directly run into that one server room. So, that is an issue that we'll have to figure out at some point. That has its own HVAC system that was put in 2019. No issues with that at this point. 2 first floor closets, that are the original ones over there. The HVAC system's not been functioning for some time. I believe the replacement was approved. I thought maybe Randy had a contractor that was going to do it, but hasn't followed through on it. The contractor, not Randy. I'm not sure I'm clear on that. So that's something that still needs to be done. There's really no, heat and air conditioning in those rooms at all. The room does have a network rack, limited equipment and servers. Some of the servers have been virtualized. There will be cleanup work of old radio equipment to remove from the space. One of the biggest things is there's like a 2-pulse rack with all the old radio stuff and some of the door stuff and 2 correct. So most of that stuff will be able to hopefully come out of there at some point, since everything's been switched over to the new PLC, for the jail. 3rd floor, radio equipment is in use in the penthouse area yet, and some of this equipment has been, or will be removed when the new radio equipment is installed. Some of the new stuff is right in the room at the top of the ramp out here. The small courtroom, large courtroom basically has 3 cabinets side by side, just small. They look like your kitchen cabinets. They're pretty well full at this point. I don't see that we're going to need to add any more equipment unless there's another big project to do with AV in that room. So it meets our needs currently. The small courtroom, if that project ever sees fruition, would need new conduit and power installed, as well as additional network cabinet to add audio and Zoom capabilities, because currently there's not much of anything in that room. There's numerous other network locations, small racks, mainly located in land information, administrator offices, sheriff's office, clerk of court, and child support. There's also network cabinets, of course, in each courtroom. For instance, child support one's one small rack mounted on the wall. It just has 2 items in it, a DPS and a switch. That currently controls stuff in child support and the phones for veterans. So veterans has wireless phones, and the controller for that is running off that network closet.
And where that is difficult is we don't have access to those rooms if they're not here, so we can't fix issues. So.
Any questions on the courtroom? That one's pretty extensive. Highway, we currently have a full height enclosed 4-post rack on wheels. We honestly don't have a ton of equipment in that rack at this point. Some of the stuff got pulled out to the dusty environment. I don't know why, but of course everybody likes nice air outside when it's nice out there. Windows were getting opened out there, and that was causing a dust problem inside the office, which was very hard on our storage equipment. So that stuff got moved out of there due to the environment it was living in. Right now, we just have stuff for highway out there that supports them. We've talked to Josh about moving to a wall rack out there to free up that floor space for him. So that is something we'd likely do in the future. However, we would have to wait and see what we come up with for wireless and security camera upgrades. He would like to install more cameras and so he can fully have everything viewed underneath his property out there. So that it's security's better, I guess. Also, he wants to add wireless access points, so he has wireless in all of the area in his building. Currently, there's really nothing for wireless outside in like the truck garage. So we would add 2 wireless access points out there. So that's stuff we have to put together for him so that he can decide which route he would like to go, and then I believe he will probably have to go for CIP borrowing for that.
We did pull some of the wall mount network racks from the campus, and I have those, so we could repurpose those for those areas to help on cost.
Simon's IT, there's a closed half rack upstairs. As you heard with Simon's, there's a lot of moisture and stuff floating around that building. It's definitely not the best environment. I don't know that we ever get away with that from that without doing something else with the building entirely. Maybe when the HVAC system was functioning properly, it wouldn't be as bad, but it's definitely not a good environment. The phones out there, especially in the pool area, only last a couple of years. We got to replace them. Just a lot of moisture in here.
We did have a server out there and that got relocated because the copper part of the memory chips would actually corrode and we would have all sorts of issues. So that's actually been removed from their facility.
They would also like to upgrade their security camera infrastructure. They're running 2 systems side by side. One system is very old, probably 20 plus years old, and then put in another system because they needed to add some cameras in some areas. We put in another system for them probably 5 years ago. And I think we could probably add onto that one, but of course that storage for that is going to need to be replaced in the near future too. Pine Valley IT closets. Pine Valley has 4 network closets, 1 in each wing. So you have the A wing, B wing, C wing, and D wing. The closets also contain many other things, along with fire panels, door access, security camera equipment, as well as nurse call equipment. Many of these areas are also used as closets for Pine Valley, so they're shoving a lot of stuff in there to get it out of the way. They probably lack storage also. So it's not necessarily secure. And with some of the stuff we'd like to put in there, it would have to be more locked down, especially with some of the new CGIS requirements. If we're going to run any backups for stuff and house them in a different building aside from across the street, that's something that we would need to look at. There is plenty of room in most of those closets for growth. They would also like to come up with something for building-wide paging, and their camera system was installed, of course, when the building was new, so it is failing. EMS building is a 2-post network rack located in the print room workroom. Rack has limited room for expansion. Like Pine Valley areas, it's not as secure as we would prefer because it's basically in one big room. We have a bunch of other stuff in there. It's not just a small area for network stuff. That was in our old REC building, so that was where they had some of their stuff at. We just took over where some of their stuff was at. Wasn't a dedicated server room or IT closet by any stretch. So we do the best we can with that. Fairground IT area, currently just a very small rack on the wall. We don't have much equipment in there. However, there's been multiple times where it's been brought up to add a security camera system out there. We would definitely need more space if that was going to be done. If monies were found, that would need to be included in the project. Somewhere to put all the equipment that would be bought to make that work. Any questions on any of those?
Go ahead.
So, sorry for the lateness. It came up, but I was listening to most of it. A couple of questions. How much stuff is in like some of these rooms that can be, is no longer used and it's going to take time and energy to get rid of it so you have space? I'm thinking of some of the radio room stuff downstairs. Is some of that even feasible?
The radio room downstairs, the old Centercom rack should be coming out soon. That would give us some space, but we actually eliminated a lot of the equipment in a lot of those rooms so far. We've been trying to decommission things as we go. So, and repurpose a lot of that space. The mine share equipment right now is on a rack on the floor. Once that gets moved up here into this rack, they'll clear up some floor space. We'll mount Spectrum's equipment on the wall instead of having to lay on the floor where they put it and stuff like that. But,
You're already incorporating that into the vision then, okay?
yeah, there's not a lot of floor space that's available, but
Okay. The other thing is with, my other question then relates to SaaS systems. I know a lot of 911 systems are going that way. Is there much savings in rack space, or is there any real size comparison that's gonna make a difference going to SaaS?
I don't know that that's been proposed yet, but my guess would be is that's probably coming.
Yeah.
Is something that's gonna have to be evaluated. My concern would be is making sure that we've got, right, I mean, we have two different providers coming in now, which is a little bit different than some because Frontier couldn't get in here, so we have coming in from Spectrum from one side and AT&T from the other side, so depending on if we could get like a secondary internet connection, some other failover, then I think that those are things that could be
But
evaluated.
is it gonna save much space though, really, if you're getting rid of boxes for?
It would free up several U in the rack. I mean,
Okay.
it would help make a difference, but we would probably end up potentially filling that space right away with putting in some switch stacks and stuff like that, make more
Fair.
redundancy, so.
All right, thank you.
Good questions. Safety needs, we really didn't have much, just the previously mentioned security cameras and then door access controls. If possible, interoperability of systems is very important to us. Money isn't always the most important thing. Aside from initial cost, we have to figure out how to set up the new system. We have to figure out how to maintain that new system, reprogram that new system. Perfect example is the phone system we have for most of the county now is Mitel. And Valley's on NEC. We struggle with it, to be honest with you. Jim at Strength does most of the work for it. I pretty much just call him when we need something done on it because we're not familiar enough with it and we don't have the time to learn it. We have enough to do the way it is. So that's one of the things. We also have, I think, 5 different door security systems now. We have the main one, the original one that ran HHS in Pine Valley. That's on a shared system. And then we have one for the courthouse, one for highway now, one for EMS, one for Simons. Simons is integrated with some of their software they use for Simons, so that's not a big deal, but it's just an example of how many different things we have that could have been possibly the same, and not only made it cost a little more upfront, possibly, but they could all been tied together. Then they could all be managed from one place, so it makes it a lot easier. Less man hours. Structural needs, with the new CJIS requirements, that are required to include items such as emergency power off switches and more physical security of equipment. Each IT area should be secure and have door access and cameras monitoring entry points. Network racks inside secure rooms may also need to be within a lockable network rack. Water sensing equipment should be in equipment rooms, and fire smoke detection and IT areas should be reviewed. Clean power circuits and generator power capacity could be reviewed with upgrades or changes to space needs. We didn't really put any numbers with the rankings because honestly, most of ours is all space. Don't have any enormous needs. Most of us do with other buildings and not ours. So
I would say like the CJIS requirements that are coming down, I believe those are mandated by 2027.
Yep, fall of 2027, I think October.
So like some of the emergency power off, those type of things, there's something that is being mandated. Adding some other door access to some of the other IT areas would be something that they're stating as a mandate also, so.
So the
energy and resources we had to devote to our cybersecurity, it would seem if we leave it physically vulnerable, we're not doing ourselves any favors. Steve, go ahead.
What do you guys mean by clean power circuits?
Basically, it would be a dedicated power circuit from the panel, properly grounded, that type of thing. So they're looking at putting in new dispatch consoles. That's one of the things that's a requirement of that. So we would have 2 dedicated clean circuits each.
So it's not all the racks, just certain ones.
All the racks should have clean power, and that should be on generator power. And then like dispatch consoles, those should have dedicated circuits.
And all the
for
computers.
Yes. All, any sort of rack equipment should be clean power.
That doesn't sound very easy to do.
So it'd be more challenging some places than others.
Yeah.
Would you view it as a requirement or a nice to have?
It probably would be more of a requirement. I mean, anything that would be put in new would have those pretty much as the spec is a standard. Now, like the emergency power off, that would be more or less a standard now. A lot of those things in a new facility would automatically be put in. It's going to be trying to retrofit some of those back into the spaces that we have is going to be a challenge.
That's new conductors all the way back to the power panel, right?
And that's a reliability concern.
Basically, yeah, to protect your equipment. So like the new dispatch consoles, they consider one circuit can be dirty, but that's basically to run the heater and fan unit, air conditioning unit within the desk. The other one would be an isolated circuit that would then be for all the computer equipment, radio equipment, so that we don't get static on any of the lines, that type of thing. So you have all the.
Have you guys noticed any problems with dirty power right now?
In dispatch, yeah. Yeah. Most of the circuits, like in our main server rooms, are clean power from a dedicated panel. And those are all generator fed. But like in dispatch, you know, if they decide to go to the vacuum and they plug into the wrong outlet, they will shut half the dispatch center down. So a lot of times they just decide not to vacuum because they don't want to risk having issues. So. Yeah. Only a couple times.
Just need gas powered vacuums.
They make the battery power.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess my other thought on this, anything that touches the CJIS side from this committee into you guys, throw it into the PSAP grant. If it's door locks and service protecting CJIS and the CJIS requirements, that's part of a requirement for 911, and that's part of funding for any of that. So please keep that in mind.
That's usually in August, right?
So the next, the PSAP grant round will come out in June, we're shooting for.
What is deadline's August?
Yeah, deadline will be August. Yeah, for funding by September.
Yeah, we've got lots of posts out.
Good, do it because we had money left over this last.
Don't get what you don't ask for, right?
That's right.
Other questions? They get us both through items 9 and 10? Is that just 9?
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
So
Okay.
we kind of split it up a little bit different than what it's on here. We did
Okay.
all of our space needs on this one, and then we put together a equipment
Okay.
list with kind of the length of service.
Okay, let's move
So
into
you guys
that.
can start planning on how long in between needing to replace systems. None of these are necessarily set in stone, but like the servers and storage, those would be 5 years, need replaced at minimum. We don't want to be pushing those any further due to what they do. They are the heart of our operation, so that's not something we want to be pushing out.
Failures, not
Stretch. So I don't know, if I can read through each one of these if you would like. Or if you want to review and ask questions, either way, whatever you guys prefer.
Anybody have any specific questions on any of the items they've listed? Steve, go ahead.
So this looks like it lends itself to a pretty easy to do spreadsheet with rough price for each of these, the life cycle of each, so that we can get a figure for, I mean, it's hardware. And I assume this stuff's all above the capital threshold. So, I mean, it is what it is. Electronics don't last very long. So I can see this being its own standalone analysis that doesn't involve
Right.
doors and floor plans and all that stuff.
Yep. MIS.
Is that something you guys can do?
Yeah, I think the hardest part when you say, start talking dollar amounts is what's this stuff gonna cost in 5 to 7, 10 years? Because previously you had increases, now the last 5 or 6 years increases have been dramatic. You're talking
I
sometimes.
understand it's too hard to project, but it's gonna be in 10 years, much less 5 or next year. But
Right.
at least,
But we can put something down,
Yeah.
absolutely, to start with, yeah. Bob, go ahead.
So, I see on here you got, UPSs and backups and all that. Are you including the radio tower equipment in the radio tower project? UPSs, generators, any of that in here?
We have a whole separate spreadsheet for that.
Okay, that's fine. Just want to make sure somewhere that's being.
But I mean, yeah, but that would be another cost that's gonna.
Because that's a 5-year replacement on UPSs and
Yeah.
switches and stuff.
we'll be wanting that spreadsheet too.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's
Yeah.
part of the puzzle.
Can't get that equipment handed down from Lacrosse County.
God, please.
Any other questions on the infrastructure stuff they're laying down here?
One thing I would like to
Yes.
know is we've seen I don't know if I'd say large, but a considerable amount of businesses moving their product from buying a service that might last for 5 to 10 years, to going subscription based. So that's another thing that's gonna be very difficult to budget for. So it's something to be aware of, though, that some of these things might be moving away from that. And for instance, one of our things that we had a discussion with our, Marco, who is our Mitel phone vendor, is our controllers for our phones, can now go basically move virtual. I do not know what the cost for that is yet, and I don't know that he did yet at that time, but I imagine it's going to be quite a bit higher than what we're used to. So it's kind of the same as switching away from our boxed Office product and going to Office 365. We held on to that as long as we could until Microsoft said, no more, you have to move. We moved, it cost us as much a year as it cost us for 5 to 7 years before. So it's unfortunately the way things are moving.
You also have things like with our hypervisor, and I won't go into detail on brands because of security and stuff like that, but I mean, you're looking at buyouts and basically they're looking at paying their stockholders, so those prices have gone up 500 to 1,000%. So our price that we had prior to now, where we had more of a perpetual license, is now going to a yearly subscription price based on core, and that price is, again, has gone up over 500%. So that's gonna be an ongoing cost that a lot of businesses are struggling to figure out where to go with that, so.
Go ahead, Steve.
Help me understand this. Are we talking now software?
This is software. That
Okay,
is
going from buying a license to buying a periodic subscription. Well, that's an operating cost, right?
It is, but it's how do you budget something that you're only paying for once every 5 years? Cause you could stretch that out, budget that, split that payment up into 5 different years to have that smaller. Now you're taking that amount and saying, I'm gonna have to pay twice that each year and being able to swallow that in your budget. And like he was just saying with hypervisor, we had a certain amount budgeted for this year for that product and they got bought out. So they changed, the company that bought them changed it all. And it's going to cost us 500% more than what it was. It's a significant amount.
Many products have moved to that subscription model. Advantage, you always have access to the latest version. Disadvantage, money.
Yeah.
That will only continue in that direction because that's a profit engine for the businesses.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yep. Any other questions? appreciate you presenting it like this because this is kind of the heart of what we're trying to do as a county is start looking forward, start planning ahead so we know what's coming. Yeah, we know it's gonna be expensive. Yeah, we know we gotta do certain things, but whether it's servers or whatever, not wait till they fail. Let's be ahead of it. So replacing stuff when we should instead of waiting for it to be a crisis. So thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
As you go through this material, the thing that keeps banging me over the head is maintenance. And our master plan really should include creative budgets for maintenance in all areas of the county.
A novel idea.
And they should be a line item in every budget, and they should feature a carryover from year to year. So if you don't spend all of your maintenance money this year, you might need it next year.
Our traditional approach and
I second that,
predates,
by the way.
yeah, our traditional approach, which predates our current administration by significant amounts, was just hope everything goes okay and then try to come up with the money if something fails. So,
Yeah.
boy, this whole idea of looking ahead and thinking ahead is, yeah. That wait and hope strategy has not been a winner for us.
Especially when we wait till the last minute to do our air conditioner and there's a month delay in the chiller getting to us. So they can't meet the deadline because there's a deadline delay in the chiller coming.
Spread that out over any department in the county, over numerous things, like we had our conversation last week about the generator for this building.
Yes.
Okay, well, we need to fix that.
Mhm.
All right, any other questions for MIS? Thank you. That brings us to item 11, which is correspondence. Do we have any?
Under reports.
Then I would be looking for a motion to adjourn. When is our next meeting slated? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Future agenda items.
All right, it's not on the agenda.
Kind of tracked it right at the beginning. So next week, we have Highway and Pine Valley that are coming to present, and EMS.
I just want to make sure we don't miss anything. I haven't heard anything about the fairgrounds or maybe other things we need to look at.
Talked about the fairgrounds.
Did that written down?
And that's one thing that I guess we can talk about. So we can add it as an item next week, because we didn't talk about the fairgrounds, we didn't talk about our parks, we didn't talk about all of that stuff. We were really trying to focus on the buildings that people work in. I mean, the one building that Lyrica works in the fairgrounds is perfect. I mean, it's in decent shape. There's not a lot that needs to be done. The whole fairgrounds though is a different, same with like Rock Bridge, same with our boat landings, some of that kind of stuff.
20-year capital costs.
Yeah, and I don't know if that is a later discussion or if that wants to be part of this, because those aren't needed to function government. And so that's how we kind of looked at it when we made these decisions.
Our work, I just want to make sure we at least thought about it.
It's out there. We haven't decided how to approach it yet, to be honest.
But we had some conversation tonight about IT at the fairgrounds and who knows what else we look at. Do we look at, I don't know, is there Wi-Fi at the fairgrounds?
So we currently shoot internet from the courthouse to Tower Hill to the fairgrounds. It'd be grand if we could get fiber there, but it's not been done yet.
So other things to be thinking about, so.
Because if there is a security camera system put in out there,
That's kind of what I was thinking, yeah.
it'd be great to have fiber to be able to push that video back.
So I imagine for events out there, if there was Wi-Fi available, they'd probably like that, so.
Yeah.
All right, I move to adjourn.
All right, motion to adjourn by Steve Carroll, second by Bob Frank, and our next meeting is next week, Thursday at 5.
Yes.
All right, all in favor of adjournment, please say aye. Oh,
I'm wrong on that.
wait,
I'm wrong
wait.
on that. No, the 19th, March 19th.
March 19th at 5 p.m.
Was a week.
March
Yeah,
19th.
March
that's-
19th, at 5. Sorry.
Oh, that's a few weeks now.
Yes, giving you a break.
Darn, okay. Okay, now all in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.
All right, thank you.